What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Hope you're having a good one. Which card should you use your free unlock on in the month of May? And more importantly, which cards should you use those precious tokens on in pools 4 and 5? Well, today we have an updated token shop buyer's guide for the month of May. Now, last month we had several cards enter all three pools and a drastic shift in Marvel Snap's meta. Now, starting out with number 20, we have Valkyrie, our newest arrival to pool 3. Now, Valkyrie offers a catch-all tech card that can be slotted into a wide variety of decks, and she gives you access to a fantastic lockdown style of deck, which when combined with the ongoing archetype can be pretty competitive. At number 19, we've got one of my favorite and one of the best 6-cost drops in Marvel Snap, Magneto. Now, his weakness is his greatest strength as well, giving you the ability to affect multiple locations and having a huge surprise factor on turn 6. He's definitely a great purchase if you enjoy the control playstyle, as well as Lockjaw decks, or frankly, if you just want a big power card. Next up, we have Leader, guys, and he is back on the list because he's an excellent plug-and-play card after his recent buff. Now, he's best in decks that have strong power presence early on, and he's fantastic when you combine him with something like Wave and She-Hulk. If you're looking for versatility, then Leader's probably the one you want to get. At 17, we have Bast, another new arrival to Pool 3, and is amongst the strongest one-cost cards in the game. Now, if you have the previous season pass card in Hitmonkey, then Bast is pretty much a no-brainer, as she pairs perfectly with that card and the bounce archetype. Overall, an excellent option to unlock and gives you a major boost to cards that you already have, like Iron Man. Now, continuing on to 16, we have Polaris, who is easily the premier 3-cost drop, one of the best within Snap as well. A ridiculous 5-power stat line, and she doesn't have a drawback. In fact, she's a fantastic counter to one of the most played decks at the moment in Galactus that I personally put into a good amount of my decks. Now, for our next card at 15, it could easily go higher or lower depending on your love or hate for bounce. Beast and his archetype is definitely on the rise lately, and it can take decent cards to the next level. Extremely big-brained, but it rewards you with very competitive play. If you're looking for a deck to build with him in it, something like Disrupt Bounce is still a force to be reckoned with. Very solid deck, and overall just a ton of fun. Now, at 14, we have Luke Cage, who might be the biggest shock on this list, but I'll be honest, guys, I wanted to put him even higher. I freaking love the card. Now, I'm not joking, guys. In these lists, I try to look ahead for things to come, and High Evolutionary is going to have a flood of these decks that wish to push negative power on your cards, making Luke Cage an easy unlock that you're going to want to get now rather than later, right? Now, on top of that, he's going to be really good for Conquest, the upcoming game mode, so I think he's kind of a no-brainer decision. I'm not sure why, but people just continue to sleep on the Cage. Now, at number 13, we had a card that dropped a good amount because he just had a recent kind of nerf, but at the same time, it somewhat buffed the card, and that is Lockjaw. Now, Lockjaw is going to give you access to an incredible style of deck if you're just entering into Pool 3. If you have Jane Foster and Thor, or you have Thanos unlocked, then he's the perfect complement and a solid card. Next at 12, we have Super Skrull, who is yet another new card that dropped to Pool 3, and guys, he lives up to the hype. Now, it was his meta, but with Enchantress kind of creeping back, he's gone down a little bit. But still, guys, you have yourself a future-proof card, as we're always going to have new ongoing cards coming out. Some with just crazy abilities like the Living Tribunal. He's great to counter mirror matches with Patriot. He's good to absorb Devil Dinosaur, Blue Marvel. I mean, just fantastic all the way around. All right, we're about to enter the top 10, but we have Dracula here at number 11. Now, Dracula gives an enormous boost to the discard archetype, but in the same light, the guy's just a monster of a card. He's extremely tough to counter, has a big fear about him on the board, and he works well across a lot of meta decks in Snap. At number 10, you know it's one of my favorite cards. I've been boasting his name since the early days. Him and Arrow always been my favorites. Daredevil is awesome, and he's definitely an unlock that I would consider getting, especially now. Control is at its best spot that it's really ever been, and it's largely thanks to Daredevil, Nebula, and Storm, all just very solid cards that really can't be replaced in what they do and offer to the game. Simply put, guys, the ability to see what's going on turn 5 is so freaking great, right? He gives you easy guidance on what to anticipate. Should you snap, retreat? Do you place Professor X in a lane that's empty? Or maybe Hobgoblin, Gamora? Just, there's so much versatility. And if you snag Nebula, like, the combination's perfect. Number 9, we have Death, and what is the best way to describe her? Death is just Death, right? She's freaking great. She's super powerful. If you like Destroy, then she should be amongst one of your earliest unlocks. But on top of that, if you like Galactus, Hela, if you have Wave, Death Wave has been good forever in Snap. Definitely an easy unlock. Next up, Shuri at number 8, and it's crazy to think that Shuri is in Pool 3 now. I almost forgot when making this list. Yeah, I don't know. People just stopped playing Shuri, and she's still hyper competitive, but not like over the top. Everyone has Vision, and it's one of the best cards now to combo with her. If you have Captain Marvel, that's also really good. Black Panther. And the best part is she just got nerfed, so she's pretty much future-proof. Number 7, we have Electro, who fell just a little bit from last month's list, but Electro ramp has always been and will always be competitive, most likely in Snap, just by the nature of how Electro works. He's going to give you instant access to Sandman's deck, which is an incredible counter control deck at the moment, and he works with low collection levels as well. You can unlock like a ton of different archetypes with him, and he's just an excellent card all the way around. Number 6, we have the Patriot, and again, guys, he just unlocks a complete archetype all by himself. Arguably, he could be way higher than this, but they're all about the same in this level of play. Anything top 10 is just a must-get card for the most part. Patriot's going to give you access to one of the best decks currently in Snap, and right now there are so many different variations of Patriot, so depending on your style of play, you can find one that works for you. Number 5, we have Mystique, who is just straight up ridiculous. The ability to copy an ongoing effect for only 3 cost is hilariously powerful. Now, this really goes for any of the cards in like the top 10, but they're all just like, you can unlock them and feel good about it, and Mystique is one of the best, right? Because she's going to work with so many cards that you have, and she simply is a good plug-and-play card. She'll be meta-relevant for a long time to come. Copying Devil Dinosaur, obviously like Darkhawk, even like Blue Marvel, Zabu, any of those cards is awesome with Mystique, and definitely one of my most used cards in Snap. At number 4, we have Wave, and just, oh god, I love Wave, guys. The strategy of Wave 5 has been meta-dominant since really the existence of Marvel Snap. It doesn't really seem like she'll be going anywhere anytime soon either. The developers love the way she plays. And then if you just take all that and combine her with being an excellent and fun ramp card, she's a no-regret purchase. All right, guys, entering number 3, we have She-Hulk, who, again, just got a little nerf a while back now, and still an excellent card with high versatility. Yeah, not a lot to convince you on, right? She-Hulk is just one of the best cards in the game. You can play her on turn 6 for 1 cost, combined with some of the best 5-cost cards in Snap. Play her on turn 4 early if you have nothing else. She's just solid across the board. And the best part is, like, she works in any kind of creative deck that you want to do. At number 2, Dr. Doom, who it just feels like a win condition in any deck that he's slotted into. I mean, putting 5 power across all 3 lanes is never a bad thing, right? And it kind of helps you with not making tough decisions. 5 power is nothing to scoff at, and Dr. Doom is just freaking electric. Yeah, guys, like, Sera is here, and every other card I mentioned today is, like, down here, right? Like, Sera is truly in a league of her own and one of the best unlocks to get in Snap, period. If you haven't gotten her, this is the card that I would unlock. She works good with Season Pass cards, low collections, high collections, and the Miracle decks that she provides is simply, like, second to none. I have plenty of deck guides. If you want to know the best decks to use, I'll put them up in the top right-hand corner. But easily, this is our number 1 card on today's list. All right, guys, so those are the top 20 cards that I would unlock. However, I took a look at the meta decks right now, and maybe you bought a card with tokens or you were lucky enough to pull one. Here are some other cards that I would consider unlocking depending on the decks that you like to play. Now, this is what can make these lists a little bit tough to make, right? Because depending on what you've unlocked or what you like to play, you should be unlocking certain cards. So here are some of the more popular meta decks and the cards that kind of surround them that I would unlock. Maybe you're just missing one of these or maybe a couple of them, but these are kind of where I would start if you like the playstyles. Altogether, you can't go wrong with any of these, and if you want access to this graphic, I'll be putting it on Twitter, which you can find down in the description below or in the pinned comment. All right, now lastly, we're going to go into pools 4 and 5, and this is the order that I would unlock these cards. There's a lot of shifts and changes here as the meta is not completely settled, but these are definitely what I consider the best unlocks. Obviously, we're going to give a little priority to things like big bads that are always going to be in pool 5, but all these cards are going to be pretty solid for the most part at a certain level. So first things first, let's address series drops in May. Now, this is tough to recommend because these cards are going to be dropping in the next few weeks, but obviously things like Darkhawk and Silver Surfer are amongst my favorite out of all of these. Darkhawk maybe being the number 1 card. However, he's going to be pool 3 available, so it's probably best to wait at this point. So starting at the very top, we've got the biggest of the bads in Thanos and Galactus. Now, it was kind of tough. Do I put them at the very first spots? But mainly because they're never going to go down in series. I have them as the top spots. Mainly if you're looking at like the safest purchases, right? Because these guys are never going to drop series. However, I don't know, maybe Galactus gets nerfed or whatever happens to him, but Thanos is still highly competitive and majorly slept on. His win rate still through the roof. The Infinity Stones are widely versatile, and I think he's going to be great in Conquest. And Galactus is Galactus, right? But Zabu is strictly my favorite of all of the cards, especially out of this list. He is going to be dropping next month, but I think getting him early is fine if you don't have him. He is used in almost all of the meta decks out there. I think he's one of the best cards in the game. simply taking down 4 cost, 1 energy is so worth it for what you can do on turn 6. Now after Zabu, we have MODOK, who is now only 3,000 tokens, and that is well worth what MODOK brings to the discard archetype. The most slept on archetype in Snap. MODOK just supercharges it altogether. Very solid card, and if you like discard, he's a no-brainer purchase. A Stature is going to come after MODOK, and finally, people have access to this card. It's been good for a long time, but now the general public is being able to realize just how good she is. She makes Black Bolt playable, which alone is freaking awesome, and she's only 3,000 tokens now. You can kind of combine her in a wide variety of different decks, and really just her and even Shuri is a great combination. Now, your eyes do not deceive you. Jeff, the freaking shark, has a bite, and he's freaking adorable. Guys, Jeff is just cracked right now. He can fit into nearly any deck. His cost with his ability and his power all just make complete sense. Sauron is very strong as well. People aren't really playing the archetype, and he's kind of limited on how he works, but he's well worth it just because of the punch he can bring those 0 style of decks, and he's only 3,000 tokens. Now, next up is going to be Kang. He's a big bad, so he's going to get a little bit of that edge over the other cards, even though he is worth 6,000 tokens. I think Kang is underutilized. If you play Galactus, he's an easy unlock. If you like control, try slotting him in your decks, and I do think he'll be, even though he's annoying, I think he'll be better for Conquest. Shanna the Sheet Devil's next up, and she is, I think she's a great card, guys. She's 3,000 tokens. She just got buffed, and she's going to be on average around like a 410 is what the data shows, and she can go well above that with Khazar and some lucky 1-drops. And on top of that, we're getting better 1-drops with Nebula, Kitty, and a lot more to come, I'm sure. Master Mold is 6,000 tokens, but a very strong disruption card. If that's your playstyle, you can definitely unlock him, but he will be dropping somewhat soon. Stegron is one of the newest cards to come, and people haven't really tested him all that much, but I can say confidently, I do own every card on this list. I use Stegron a lot, especially if you put him in a Zabu deck. Pushing like a devil dinosaur in his own lane is just awesome. Or just messing them up on the last turn of the game. He's like a juggernaut, a little different, but that doesn't make him worse. Now, Negasonic is a card that I like a lot if you play Professor X a ton. If you do like Destroy, she is a interesting tech card that can be paired with different combinations. A little bit expensive, probably would wait for her to drop, as well as Nimrod, unless you just purely play Galactus. Now, after that, I would say most of these cards are not worth using your tokens on. Even Shadow King, after his buff, is probably just a pool 3 unlock once he is available. If you have him, he's decent. You can slot him in decks, but probably not worth the tokens. Ghost, Dazzler, Snowguard, these are okay cards. I think they all need a little bit of tuning. Ghost might have the day, but right now it's just not a card that you can make room for. There's just so many other cards you'd rather play with. So altogether, this is our updated list for pools 4 and 5. It can be tough depending on what other cards you have, but for the wide majority, I feel pretty confident in the list. All right, guys, so there you have it. That is the Token Shop Buyer's Guide for the month of May. Wish you guys good luck out there in the new season. If you're trying to find today's graphics and you want to download or save them, I'll be tweeting them out later. You can find that on my description or in the comments down below. Thank you guys for coming by and watching today. If you find yourself coming back here time and time again, go ahead and consider pressing the red subscribe button. And as always, until the next one, happy snapping.